Hey everybody, welcome into the Week 7 Waiver Wire show. We're going to get into our waivers, and then we'll also throw a few stashes in at running back and wide receiver that you can throw on your bench in hopes that an injury happens. Not in hopes, but if an injury happens, or they just take a bigger role in the offense. We'll get in right away with running backs. Sean Tucker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Huge week this week. Although I wouldn't spend a whole lot on this, I think this performance this past week with Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker is going to make this backfield an absolute mess when Rashod White comes back. Tucker had 14 carries, 136 yards, and a touchdown. 3 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. Bucks as an offense finished with 277 yards on the ground, which is the third most in franchise history. Not good news for Rashod White at all. I just don't see them phasing him completely out. But Sean Tucker, Todd Bowles came out and said he deserves more opportunities. He's already said that about Bucky Irving, and now he's saying it about Sean Tucker. So you're going to be seeing, if you're a Rashod White owner, this is not what you want to see. So this backfield, like I said, it just became a mess. So we'll move on to Ty Chandler for the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Jones is dealing with a hip injury. He's week to week, so keep an eye on the practice report this week. But Ty Chandler could be a good play going this week. And he's had a small role in the offense, but Aaron Jones has handled a bulk of the work. So if you're looking for a filler for this week, keep an eye on Aaron Jones' status, but grab Ty Chandler for as cheap as you can. And the last pick, I told everybody to stash this guy a few weeks back, and it has came to fruition. Isaac Guerendo for the San Francisco 49ers. We don't know that Jordan Mason's out yet, but Jordan Mason is dealing with an AC joint injury with his shoulder. And Guerendo came in 99 yards on 10 carries. A bulk of those came on one carry at the end of the game, but Guerendo looked good. That run looked good. He hit the hole and he took off. If Jordan Mason misses any time, obviously we know Christian McCaffrey won't be back probably for at least a couple more weeks. So Guerendo could play a role in this offense, a big role in this offense. He could be week winning for people over the next couple weeks. Moving on to our stashes for the running back position. Looking at Jaylen Wright for the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert already dealt with injuries early on in this season. Devon Achane's coming off a concussion. We don't know what his status will be for this week, but Mostert dealt with an injury first few weeks, missed some time. If both of these players continuously get hurt, Jaylen Wright's going to play a role in this offense. 13 carries, 86 yards after Achane exited the game before the bye with a concussion. So grab Jaylen Wright if you have a spot on the bench to spare. Next up, Roschon Johnson. Still a part of this offense. The Bears offense has found something over the past few weeks. Swift has taken off. He's been what we've expected, or what I expected him to be before the season started. And if something happens to Swift, Roschon will play a major role in this offense. If not being a good trade bait, if something happens to Swift, as their schedule is going to get a lot more difficult as the season goes on. They play Detroit and Minnesota 4 times in a span of 5 weeks, from weeks 12 through I think 17. Not a schedule you want to see for these running backs going down the stretch. But if you grab Roschon Johnson, something happens to DeAndre Swift, it may be something to throw trade bait out there and see what you can get for him. Last but not least, Kimani Vidal. Gus Edwards is on the IR. Dobbins just took 25 carries for the Chargers. We've seen Dobbins' injury history in the past, and there is no way he's going to be able to handle 25 carries a game. If he does, it could end up leading to injury, and if it does, Vidal is a primary option in this backfield. Something you'd like to have with this Chargers backfield, the amount of times they run a game. So grab Vidal if you can. Keep him on your bench. He could be a good weekly filler as the season goes on. I don't see Gus Edwards taking this job back when he comes back if Vidal looks decent, which he looked halfway decent in the few opportunities he got and he got a touchdown this past week. So grab Vidal, keep an eye on the situation, see what happens. We'll get into wide receivers now. First on my list, Demario Douglas. 18 receptions in the last 2 weeks. Scored his first TD this past game with Drake May at quarterback. We don't know what this offense is going to mold into with Drake May. We could see Polk get more carries. We could see Demario Douglas continue to kind of blossom and become the one in this offense, which he already is. If it continues going this way, Demario Douglas could be a mid wide receiver 2 going forward. So he's only 14% rostered in sleeper leagues, which means he's lower rostered in ESPN and Yahoo more than likely. So grab Demario Douglas if you can. It could be a good wide receiver 2 going forward. Next up, Juju Smith-Schuster. 33% rostered in sleeper leagues. 8 targets, 130 yards before the bye. He's filling that Rashee Rice role. I mentioned him last week on waivers, but he's still only 38% rostered. If he continues playing this Rashee Rice role the rest of the way down the stretch, he could be a league winner for people. So grab Juju Smith-Schuster if he's available. He's, in my opinion, I'd flex him this week until he shows otherwise and he gets less targets. Next up, Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson for the Arizona Cardinals, 28% rostered. Marvin Harrison Jr. is dealing with a concussion. We don't know what his status is going to be this week, but grab Michael Wilson. He's been playable most weeks, a lower end flex, but if you need a fill in for buys, but this week he could be a easy flex with Marvin Harrison Jr. missing some time if he doesn't make it back from this concussion. Stashes for the wide receiver position. Bub Means for the New Orleans Saints. Came out of nowhere after Olave went down with the concussion this past week. Also, some people don't know, but Rashid Shaheed is dealing with what I read earlier. I haven't read too much on it, but it came across my feed, what could be a significant knee injury, but we'll get more as the week goes on how significant it is. But if Shaheed and Olave miss time, Bub Means could be a good fill-in week to week as a go-to receiver for Spencer Rattler. Rashod Bateman for the Baltimore Ravens. Bateman was hyped over the past couple years coming onto this offense, but Baltimore just did not want to feed receivers. And this year, out of nowhere, they decided to start feeding receivers. We could see Lamar Jackson support his second top 24 wide receiver of his career. Marquise Brown was the first, barely made it in at wide receiver 23 that year. But Zay Flowers could be that second receiver that finishes in that wide receiver 2 range. If he continues what he did last week, he could flirt with the lower end wide receiver 1 range. But Rashod Bateman, 17% rostered. Like I said, Ravens are involving these receivers more, and Rashod Bateman is not living up to the potential that we hoped he would when he was first drafted, but he's filling a role that could be good flex-worthy going forward. And the last stash option I'm going to talk about is Jalen Polk. I've already talked about him before, but he's only 21% rostered. As Drake May kind of forms into the quarterback he's going to be, it could be Jalen Polk that becomes his number 1 receiver over time. We saw the chemistry with those two in the preseason, so it'll be interesting to see what comes of it as the season goes on and they have time to work together. So grab Jalen Polk, throw him on your bench, in case the Demario Douglas plan doesn't pan out and Jalen Polk becomes that number one option on the team. But even in number two, if Drake May becomes a halfway decent quarterback, Jalen Polk could be a nice flex from week to week. But the two tight ends that I wanted to talk about, Hunter Henry for the Patriots. Actually, I have three I want to talk about. But Hunter Henry for the Patriots. Halfway decent week this past week, for just over 40 yards. Again, Drake May, first week. We don't know if the offense will continue to look like what it did this past week, or if he's going to settle in and become better than he was. But grab Hunter Henry if you need some help at tight end, and see what happens. Noah Fant, big week this past week. This high-powered Seattle passing attack with Ryan Grubb. I don't know if this is going to be just a one-week event, so I wouldn't go out and spend a lot on Noah Fant, hoping that he's going to continue doing what he did this past week. But he could be a good stash on the bench just in case he does continue to perform. And this next guy, see if he's on your waivers, Cade Otton. Cade Otton has been a good start at tight end all season, or at least for the past 4 to 5 weeks. Grab him if he's there. If you're struggling at tight end, he could be a good start every week. This Bucs offense looks good. They look legit. Baker Mayfield just continues to defy the odds. With the start to his career, everybody thought that he was going to be a bust at that pick. But he is performing with Tampa. It doesn't seem to be a Dave Canales thing. Baker Mayfield is continuing to perform under the new regime. So grab Cade Otton if you can. If you enjoyed the content, hit that subscribe button in the bottom corner. Leave us a comment. Let us know some waiver wires that you think are good pickups this week, maybe some stashes that you think are good pickups this week. Let us know what you think, and we will catch you guys later.